As I end up sending the other girl's letter to my wife, and she found out, and she was like,
I said, "Oh my goodness, who's this
Oh
letter?"
no.
"Yeah,
So I
that is
right
true."
away call him. Okay, is it her or me? Because I said I'm not gonna waste my time waiting for you to make up your mind.
I'm Stephen,
Hi, my name is Bea.
and this is Philippines in Full Effect. Today we have two special guests that flew into Iloilo to meet us. Our channel is only 2 weeks old,
Yes.
and we're fortunate enough to have subscribers come and meet us already. But the special moment about this is that the subscribers actually are our family now.
Yes.
And this is Lydia and Morris, and they live in Bicol,
Yeah.
Bicol, Philippines. Morris is a retired Marine, and his wife is from the Philippines, and they've been married for 33 years. 33 years, happy marriage. And we want to bring this story to you because it's really interesting.
All right, guys. So welcome to the show. Wow.
First,
Yes. So again, the introduction that Steve said. So Morris and Lydia, tell us about your story.
I was stationed in Subic Bay from 1987 to 1992, and I met my wife. She worked aboard the base. She was a supervisor, and so at the time I had another girlfriend. To be honest with you, and I would bring her to the place where my wife worked at, and we would just kind of like have food there. But I kind of caught my wife out of the side view of my eye, and I was like, "Oh, she's very nice." And over time, the other girl kind of fell away, and I used to go to the Staff and SEAL Club to get my favorite meal that I used to loved, and then I would see my wife there. And I started looking at her and said, "Wow, man, she is really pretty. She has the curves in the right place." And just a little over time, as time went along, I ended up with her,
Right.
and been happy ever since.
Okay.
so I want to point out that Morris is he's a combat Marine, Vietnam vet, and we'll cover a little bit of that, but he was a machine gunner on a helicopter. And that's like all of you young gamers out there, that's your dream in games. I just want to sit behind this machine gun helicopter and cutting through tropical forests and everything. Well, this gentleman actually did that, so for real. And during his time in service in the Marines, he met his wife, so something good came out of that period of his life.
Okay, so this time my question is for Lydia. So when he started courting you, how did you feel? Was he like your first choice? What was what was Do you have any more suitors back then?
Well, I think so, but you know, you can never really tell if you really, you know, love the person or you're attractive to them, because they always think that it's not the attraction. Of course, the physical attraction is the first thing that it will
Yes.
hit you, right? And then later on, the love that you're gonna develop to that person. So we dated for 2 years before we really get
Okay.
married. So.
Yes.
All right.
Question.
Okay.
So, what was the Philippines like? This is 1970, or no, what year is this?
First time I was here in 1972.
Okay, you were here in 72
Yes.
the first time. So, what was the Philippines like? And I'll
Oh,
ask
my
both of you
goodness.
because you're obviously from here. So what was the Philippines like for a young Marine? How old were you?
I was about 18 years old.
18 years old. So what's your experience?
It was like Chicago during the 30s. It was wild. I mean, anything went at those times. That was during the time President Marcos was here and the martial law was on. But it was, you couldn't go off of the main street there because people would, you'd probably get hurt because of all the things that was going on. I mean, there was guns, there was shooting, drugs going on, just a wild, crazy place. And the crazy thing about where I was in Olongapo, is that part of Olongapo, the main street, was where mainly the white Marines and white sailors went to, and very few black people went to that part. And the other part was where the black people went to, and the kind of Mexicans, but it was like called the jungle. So the military at that time reflected what was going on in society, all the racial issues and hatred. It spilled over into the military. So it was a very tough time to be in the Philippines, and things that went on then, just very rough.
All right. So, how about for Lydia? What was it like,
Well,
back then?
you mean when I was already in Subic, right?
Yes,
That's what
yes,
you're
in
talking
Subic,
about.
yeah.
Well, back then, it's really like, you're young and you want. For me, my mission is to help my mom. Support her financially. And I have a story that I said, okay, first guy, American guy will ask me to marry me, I will marry him. But it didn't happen. I said, it's like, no, if I don't have any kind of physical attraction to a person, of course you're not gonna just go ahead and marry. So I was only 19 then, and then when I met my husband, I was 30. And I think he's the right person for me, or right man for me to marry.
Yeah, because you said, we were talking yesterday, you were 30 years old, so you were like thinking that, no, I'm not gonna marry anymore. Because you were 30
Yeah,
years.
it's like no more hope for me to get married.
Okay, so from that time, decided to move back. What was the plan
Good.
to the U.S.?
What did y'all? Because you got married in the Philippines, right?
Okay, that's a good question.
And you got married in the.
We got married twice.
Okay.
Okay, so-
But the first time was.
Yes. When I was stationed here, I was here, stationed here in 1987 to 1989. When you're stationed here, you get to, a lot of pretty ladies at that time. And so I never would get married to a woman here. I wanted to make sure that it was the real thing. So I dated around quite a bit. And I'll talk to you a little about that. I was really dating two women at that time, my wife and one other girl. And when I went back to America, I felt, well, I can do that because I have not pledged to either one of them. And so I would send both of them letters. One to this one, and one. Oh, that's right.
Not even.
Okay. But what happened is I ended up sending the other girl's letter to my wife, and she found out, and she was like furious. She's like, you know something? You better make up your mind. Which one of us you want? And of course, I got smart, and I ended up taking her as my wife.
Let me correct that, because the reason why I got the mail is because he have a friend that's stationed in Subic, and he's the one who's getting all the letters from
Okay,
him
there was a
to give
mixed
it to me. But since there's only one mailbox, so everything that letters for me and the other girl, Art put it in one envelope and he gave it to me. So I was surprised. I said, "Oh my goodness, what's this letter?"
Yeah,
So I right away called him. Okay, is it her or me? Because I said I'm not gonna waste my time waiting for you to make up your mind. So you need to tell me right then, right here. Because you go to a telephone company.
Yeah, it's
It's
expensive.
still, yeah.
This is long distance in the
Yes,
80s.
it's a long distance.
Yeah,
I
it's
said,
expensive.
yeah. So you, me, or her? Okay. So he decided it's me. So he proposed on the phone actually for me to marry him.
Now let me say this, because I had troops that had gotten married and had problems in their relationship, so I wouldn't marry her here. I want to make sure I knew the girl. Although I was stationed here, dating her, but I wasn't sure there was the one. And so I took my time. We kept writing and talking, and just little by little, I became more, affirmed that this was the right woman. I began to look at her history, and then, my wife has a unique name. In the Philippines, a lot of people have nicknames. and her name is, in English you would say Bait, but in the Philippines it's B-A-I-T, is Bait, which means the good one.
Yeah.
So her mother gave her that name because she was the best child. And so I told my wife many times, she's what she is, not because so much of her, but what her mother put into her.
Right.
And I told her, when I see your mom, I'm going to thank your mom for what she put into my wife. My wife is a genuine person. And so after giving it much consideration, consulting with God, because I was a pastor before, and I was assured, man, she was the right one. And then 33 years later, it is so. Now, I want to just caveat, I've been married before, 2 times before that, and I made mistakes, and I want to make sure I hit it right this time. There's no substitute for spending time to know a person. I mean, really spending time and really genuine and make sure this is the person you want. And I looked at every aspect of my wife. I mean, she was genuine, she was true, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, they say what you want. Men are very visual, so she had all the curves in the right places. I said, man, I can't let this one here go. So, and I mean, she's been a jewel. My wife is the best thing that ever happened in my life.
Oh.
She fits me, as I say, like a number 9 foot and a number 9 shoe. She completes me.
Oh. That's so sweet.
How sweet.
After y'all got married, what was the next move in your life? Where did you go from there?
Oh my goodness. They sent me from Subic Bay. Understand, Subic Bay is a tropical country, great liberty, cool. They sent me to 29 Palms, California. When I got there, I used to be a white man with blonde hair and blue eyes. 26 years later, I look like this. Just kidding. But I mean, I was depressed when I got there. It took me about, oh my God. I mean, it's like, I got there in January, and in April, I was back on leave back in the Philippines. But it was just tough living there because it's so desolate. I mean, nothing there, brown, from all green to all brown. And it was tough living there, And then I was a single man. And it's hard living in the desert, in a house by yourself. And in the wintertime, it gets cold, and you just there in the bed by yourself. It is no fun.
I have a question for Lydia. What was it like to be married to a Marine, a combat Marine? Because, my basic training was done by the U.S. Marine Corps. So that's why Morris and I really bonded. Because if you remember Officer and a Gentleman, you remember that movie. Take the Marine Corps DI from Full Metal Jacket and put him in Officer and a Gentleman, and that's really what the training was like for us. The Officer and Gentleman was a great movie, and I love it, but the relationship between the drill instructor and male, Richard Gere character is not realistic. And because of some of those things, they actually wanted to film that movie in the base I was trained at. But because of those things, the Navy didn't sign on to that. And they refused to let them do that. That's why they eventually went into that abandoned, I don't know if it's an abandoned National Guard base or Coast Guard base is where they actually filmed that movie in Washington.
Okay.
It was supposed to be filmed in Florida and Pensacola because that's where their training was. So that's what my life was like. So Morris and I just bonded because I have so much respect for Marines and the psyche of Marines. And then you go back to Vietnam era, which my dad was a Vietnam vet, and a lot of my family are veterans as well. So I really connect with those, even though I was, kind of young, far from having to go. But I found out that Morris actually volunteered for Vietnam, so you can imagine there weren't that many people volunteering. And he went in early, had to get special permission. His mother had to sign off so he can become a Marine. So we developed a really good bond. We started talking on the phone almost every day. And so I understand him. So that's what I want to know, because what is it like to being married to, a hardcore Marine?
Well, I think it's kind of hard at the first, not even few years, maybe 5.